Number 3 deals with solving and graphing inequalities. We have to solve this inequality, and then the answer is we have to match our answer to its graph. So let's go through that. Solving inequalities should feel very familiar to solving equations. So looking at this first one, my hope is your first thought is we add 2 to both sides. We get negative 3/4 x, which is less than or equal to negative 9. This is where we run into the tricky part. So the first tricky part is how do we get rid of that negative 3/4 in front of the x? If you had a calculator, sure, we could divide by 3/4, but we're not going to use a calculator right now. A fraction like this is kind of like thinking about multiplying x by 3 and dividing x by 4. So if we were multiplying by 3, to get rid of that 3, we would have to divide by 3. And if we were dividing by 4, we would have to get rid of that by multiplying by 4. You might remember this as multiplying the fraction by its reciprocal. That'll cancel the 4's and the 3's. Oh, and don't forget our negative sign. We want to change that negative to a positive by multiplying it by another negative, so we just get over here on the left-hand side x. Over here on the right, we're multiplying by negative 4/3. How do we multiply fractions? Think about that. Negative 9 is over 1. Multiply across. Negative 9 times negative 4 is 36. 1 times 3 is 3, and 36 divided by 3 is 12. Now the last tricky part about this problem, if you recall, multiplying by a negative number on both sides of an inequality is going to change the direction of the inequality. So we get x is greater than or equal to 12. Now that we have an answer, we have to match it with the appropriate graph. So let's make our number line. I'll put 12 in the center there. First thing, greater than or equal to. 12 is equal to itself. We include the value 12, which is why in the center you should have a closed circle, because we're including that answer. We're shading 12 in. Now, from here, if you don't know which direction to shade, my advice is to always pick a number and see if it works. A number I generally like to pick is 0. 0 is over here on the number line. You ask yourself, is 0 greater than or equal to 12? And hopefully you're able to tell yourself, no, it is not. So the direction where 0 is, that's the incorrect direction, because that's a no. So we're going to go in the opposite way, which happens to be to the right, however you like to shade. The answer is on the form our black bar right there. So you're looking for a closed circle shading over to the right for that first one. For the second one, you are not finding its graph, you're just solving the inequality. So let's go through that. Subtract 3 from both sides. So we get negative 2x is greater than 2. And then we are going to divide by negative 2. And just like the previous problem, when we divide by a negative number, we must flip the inequality. So x is less than 2 divided by negative 2, negative 1. That is the answer that you are looking for that last one.